From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the news at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Ayotunde Balogun.
Hello and welcome tonight. An improvised explosive device planted by insurgents detonates in Mongono, Borno State, killing the commanding officer of 242 Battalion, Colonel I.A. Mohammed, and 6 other soldiers. Former Senate leader Aline Dume urges Bola Tinubu to intensify efforts to secure release of over 400 Ngosha residents abducted by Boko Haram insurgents last month. Kaduna State Governor Uba Sani says his administration will not tolerate politicization of insecurity, warning that those undermining peace will face the law. And U.S. blockade of Iranian ports begins as U.S. President Donald Trump claims Tehran is now desperate for a new deal.
On business, Nigeria's oil production rises in March to 1.38 million barrels per day, but remains below its OPEC quota despite improved drilling activity.
On sports news tonight, Ghana Football Association appoints 73-year-old Portuguese Carlos Queiroz as the new head coach of the Black Stars ahead of the 2026 FIFA World Cup.
And from the nation's capital, Kaduna State High Court adjourns hearing of bail application filed by former Governor Nasser El-Rufai to April 14, 2026.
The military has announced that troops of Sector 3 Joint Task Force Northeast Operation Hadinkai came under an isolated terrorist attack in Mongono, Borno State in the late hours of Sunday, April the 12th. The media information officer of Operation Hadinkai, Lieutenant Colonel Sani Uba, confirmed the incident, stating that following intense fire exchanges, the terrorists were put to flight with troops maintaining control of the location. He adds that regrettably, the commanding officer, while courageously proceeding to the troops' location to personally assess the situation, encountered an improvised explosive device which severely affected his vehicle, leading to his death alongside 6 other gallant personnel. We'll certainly have more on that incident much later. Moving on now, in Borno State, residents of Ngoshe in Gwoza local government who witnessed their community attacked in March this year are appealing to President Bola Tinubu to rescue the over 400 others abducted by Boko Haram insurgents. Senator Aline Dume, who represents Borno South at the National Assembly, disclosed this in a press conference in Pulka, where the displaced persons are taking refuge. He appealed to the federal government to help rebuild the community, as well as provide humanitarian support to the displaced persons. Senator Ndume, who also sought for the reconstruction of dilapidated roads, destroyed houses, among others, commended Governor Babagana Zulum for donating the sum of 100 million naira to the Ngoshe community. He also called on the international community to beam their searchlight on the 3 black spots of the Sambisa Forest, the Mandara Mountains, and the Lake Chad region in Borno State for the safety of residents.
It is right that the purpose of government, as is enshrined in the Constitution of Nigeria, is to security and welfare of citizens. It is appalling that those of us in authority at the federal level have not met the expectations of our people in fulfillment of these sacred duties. Therefore, our demands are as follows, please. 1. We call on the federal government to take urgent and prompt action to secure over 400 residents of Ngoshe in captivity. 2. We appeal to President Ahmed Bola's administration to ensure the reconstruction of Ngoshe community, which has been totally destroyed by insurgents. Number 3, the federal government should urgently support the Borno State government under the leadership of Professor Babagana Zulum's administration that has already released 100 million for immediate reconstruction, resettlement, and rehabilitation of Ngoshe.
Staying with security, and Governor Uba Sani has presided over a Security Council meeting at the Council chambers of the Sir Kashim Ibrahim House with the Minister of Defense, General Christopher Musa, in attendance. Addressing reporters after the meeting, Governor Sani and the Defense Minister underscored the need for synergy between Kaduna State and the federal government.
This is a special Security Council meeting because also extended invitation to the Honorable Minister of Defense, Christopher Musa, who is also from Kaduna State, to join us in our deliberation today. We discuss on a number of issues that has to do with the security of our state. We also look at what happened from the last meeting of the Security Council. Of course, we've recorded a lot of successes in many areas. There are some pockets of insecurity that happens in some communities, isolated communities in Kaduna State. That is the reason why we are not going to relax. We'll continue to work tirelessly, continue to work day and night, continue to work and support our security agencies, as well as our religious and traditional rulers, as well as the relevant stakeholders within our communities. Because we believe most of these issues can only be addressed if we work together as a team. But we also look at the symptoms and drivers of this insecurity, which for us is very critical. We believe we cannot address these issues without addressing the socio-economic problems of our people.
What we are doing now is to ensure that we give all the necessary support from the federal to the state to local governments. And like we always said, that to win this war is a whole of society approach. And that's why you see that the traditional rulers are here, the religious leaders are here, the local governments are here. Everybody that has to do with everything security was here today, and we had a very, very fruitful discussion. I want to assure people in Kaduna State, the good people in Kaduna State, and Nigeria in general, that His Excellency is doing so much, and is very, very sincere towards his approach in ensuring that he provides an enabling environment for everybody to thrive and feel as part of Kaduna State.
Following the recent attack in Angwan Rukuba in Jos, the House of Representatives Ad hoc Committee on Security Conference for Plateau State has moved to address the worsening crisis with a courtesy visit to the Deputy Governor, Mrs. Josephine Pio. Now, the committee, led by Mr. Wale Ahmed, says its intervention is aimed at finding lasting, solution-driven responses to the persistent insecurity in Plateau and the North Central region. According to him, the committee has begun wide consultations with stakeholders, with many already submitting memoranda ahead of the planned security conference. He adds that the recommendations from the conference will be forwarded to the President for prompt action.
Read through a lot of the reports, white papers. I have kind of, sorry if it sounds immodest, I have kind of become like some kind of professor in the affairs in what is going on in this state. There have been a lot of committees, inquiries, white papers. We've read through them. So why we have taken a little time is because we don't want whatever is coming out of this to go in the way some of the earlier ones have gone. This should be definitive. It should be problem solving. It should be something that we are going to come up with, that we get to Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief, who is highly concerned and interested.
Responding, the Plateau State Deputy Governor described the visit as timely and crucial to ongoing peace efforts. She commended the National Assembly and the federal government for their interest in Plateau, expressing hope that the conference will bring lasting solutions to the recurring violence.
I want to appreciate the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, for setting this important committee to come and hear first-hand information from Plateau people, what is happening on the Plateau. We want to appreciate your coming. You have shown us that you have the interest of your people at heart, and you are so moved and concerned about the loss of lives on the Plateau and in Nigeria. That is why you have come to hear for yourself and to find lasting solutions to these problems. We want to say welcome. We are grateful. Thank you so much. The decisions you will take here that will lead to lasting peace on the Plateau and all over Nigeria.
FCT Minister Mr. Nyesom Wike has dismissed claims that any faction within the African Democratic Congress was denied the use of any public facility for its national convention. Mr. Wike explained that his office and the Abuja Property Management Company have not received any requests from the ADC. The minister made this disclosure during an inspection tour of some projects in Abuja.
The FCT minister's project inspection tour started at Apowasa, Ring Road, where the minister inspected the ongoing construction of an overhead bridge. The minister then heads to Kaduna district to inspect a road construction project.
The culverts, almost all of them are completed.
The entourage also inspected projects in Wasa, especially the layout mapped out for all informal sectors, including the Apo Mechanic Village.
We're here in Wasa, which has to do with the informal sector. You know, every government has promised the Apo mechanics that they're going to move out from where they are. I thank God this administration of people have been able to fulfill it. I'm sure that everybody's happy that the Apo mechanic will leave where they are and come into this place. They are going to provide all the infrastructure needed. And they have also seen that the company CGC has promised by the end of May it will be completed, and then we'll start working on how the informal sector of the Apple mechanics to move into the place.
The minister used the opportunity to respond to allegations that the federal government has denied the African Democratic Congress access to any public facility to conduct their national convention.
Who denied them? When you say they were denied, who denied them? I don't know. I don't even know the party you're talking about. They say one of the political parties.
African Democratic Congress.
Okay, you see, that's why you have to look at characters, people who do only want to take public sympathy when they know that there's nothing like that. And you see, when you look at that behind all this, you ask yourself, are there really people who only want to say they're talking about positive change? As I speak to you, nobody has written any letter. I don't know the very they are talking about the app. Okay, let's make assume that they talk about Eagle Square. Nobody, not one, wrote any letter to use the Eagle Square. I called the GMD of absence. There's nothing like that. There's no way we would deny them because we collect revenue from that. You have to pay. And nobody has written to us. We are not in charge of the velodrome. That's under the sports commission. Even when PDP did their own convention, we applied to sports commission and we paid. So it is not easy. Even when APC took the Eagle Square, they paid.
Back to the project inspection, the minister expressed satisfaction with the level of work done, noting that key road projects will be completed by May the 15th.
In part two, after the break, the national coordinator of the Presidential Healthcare Initiative, Abdul Mukhtar, says the federal government remains committed to strengthening Nigeria's pharmaceutical sector through policy support, funding, and partnerships. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you have just joined us, you're watching the News at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. An improvised explosive device planted by insurgents detonates in Mungono, Borno State, killing the commanding officer of 242 Battalion, Colonel I.A. Mohammed, and 6 other soldiers. Former Senate leader Aline Dumet urges President Bola Tinubu to intensify efforts to secure release of over 400 Ngosha residents abducted by Boko Haram insurgents last month. Kaduna State Governor Uba Sani says his administration will not tolerate politicization of insecurity, warning that those undermining peace will face the law. And U.S. blockade of Iranian ports begins as President Donald Trump claims Tehran is now desperate for a new deal. The National Coordinator of the Presidential Initiative for Unlocking the Healthcare Value Chain, Dr. Abdul Mukhtar, says the federal government remains fully committed to strengthening Nigeria's pharmaceutical sector through policy support, funding and strategic partnerships. Speaking during his courtesy visit to Fitson Healthcare PLC in Ota, Ogun State, Dr. Mukhtar noted that the visit underscores the importance of collaboration between government and industry leaders to drive local production and reduce dependence on imports. He commended Fitson's leadership and vision, describing the company as a national asset and a key player in transforming Nigeria into a pharmaceutical manufacturing hub. According to him, PVAC, under the leadership of President Bola Tinubu and coordinated through the Coordinating Minister of Health, Professor Mohammed Pate, places local drug manufacturing at the center of national development.
You, Mr. Fidelis, and the Fitson Group, you are a national asset. It's one of those, you are now at a point where government cannot allow you to fail or to not succeed. Because if you do, the entire sector will go down. And the pharmaceutical sector, is a very integral part of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's agenda for transformation. So what I want to commit to you to say on behalf of Mr. President, on behalf of the Honorable Coordinating Minister, whatever we want to do, whatever we need to do as presidential initiative to support the sector, to support Fitson as the showcase, as the champion of the sector, you have my word and you have my commitment.
One of the most exciting persons in government today that I know is the Honorable Minister for Health, right? He may not know how much the industry appreciates him. It is his policies, like I said yesterday, that have driven through NAFDAC the expansion that we are seeing in the industry. Today, we are sitting in the largest pharmaceutical manufacturing plant anywhere in Africa, including South Africa. I can say that for free, right, including South Africa. And it promises to be larger than this in the next 3 years.
So let's now turn to the nation's capital, where Millicent Walker is standing by to give us the latest from our Abuja studios. Great to see you again, Millicent. Over to you.
Same here. Many thanks, Ayatunde. We begin in the courtroom where the Kaduna State High Court has adjourned the hearing of a bail application filed by former Kaduna State Governor, Mr. Nasir El-Rufai, to April 14th, 2026. Mr. El-Rufai appeared before the court amid tight security as proceedings continued in a case filed against him and his co-defendant, Amadu Sule, by the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, for a 9-count charge over alleged financial impropriety and abuse of office.
Proceedings in the alleged financial impropriety charges against the former governor of Kaduna State, Mr. Nasir El-Rufai, by the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission resumed at the Kaduna State High Court. He's also facing charges of alleged abuse of office in the 9-count charge before Justice Darius Kobo. Journalists are barred from going inside the court. However, the former governor pleaded not guilty, while the ICPC had requested that the second defendant, Mr. Amadu Sule, be removed from the arraignment as the charges against him were dropped. The trial judge granted the plea. The defense team urged the court to grant the former governor bail, arguing that he is not a flight risk and is prepared to meet any conditions set by the court. He also argues that they were served with the fresh charges on Monday morning and required time to study them. However, the prosecution opposed the request, insisting that the gravity of the charges requires careful consideration before any bail decision is made. After hearing arguments from both sides, the presiding judge, Justice Darius Kobo, adjourned the matter to April 14, when the court is expected to continue hearing the bail application or deliver a ruling.
The charges were given to us this morning, and that was the reason why we could not proceed to hearing, because the charges are basically new. So whatever it is that we see, we are going to study them. Whatever it is we see, we'll probably do our analysis and let the world know what we think about it, or let the court know what we think. There's nothing we can do right now about it. They are brand new. They were given to us while we were in court.
The case has also drawn nationwide attention, with supporters of the former governor believing that he will be vindicated.
The second defendant that was to be in court happens to be hospitalized. So we have the plaintiffs decided to drop some of the charges. And going forward, the plea has been taken, and he pleaded not guilty to all the charges.
For now, the former governor remains in the custody of the ICPC, pending the outcome of the bail application.
Away from the court at the National Assembly, members of the African Democratic Congress, ADC, in the House of Representatives are calling for the removal from office and prosecution of the INEC chairman, Professor Joash Amopitan, over what they describe as partiality and inconsistency. The lawmakers stated this at a press briefing at the National Assembly following recent public statements and actions by the chairman, which they deem to be compromising, partisan and conflicted. According to the lawmakers, the resolutions were reached following an inaugural meeting of the ADC Representatives Caucus held on Sunday, April 12th, to review political developments in the nation. They also allege a collusion between INEC and certain elements within the judiciary to violate Section 83 of the Electoral Act.
In the light of these inconsistencies and concerns regarding impartiality and integrity, the House Caucus of the ADC on Monday, 13th April 2026, hereby calls for the removal of Professor Amopitan from office and advocates for his prosecution in order to safeguard the nation against an unavoidable descent into anti-democratic practices.
Well, outside our shores, the 2026 IMF and World Bank spring meetings have commenced, with over 1,000 delegates from 190 countries gathering under the theme Anchoring Stability and Promoting Balanced Growth. Our correspondent Sarah Chimugu, who is covering the meetings in Washington, reports that global economic stability is already under the radar as the fallout of the Middle East conflict dominates proceedings.
World financial leaders are gathered in Washington, D.C. in the United States for the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank Spring Meetings 2026. The high-stake discussions come at a time of slowing global economic growth, rising energy costs, and renewed concerns about debt sustainability. Earlier in the week, the IMF Managing Director, Kristalina Georgieva, confirmed that the IMF will cut its 2026 global growth projections, citing scarring effects from the war.
Cut by some 13%.
She, however, notes that energy costs, supply disruptions, and damaged infrastructure have forced the IMF to prepare up to $50 billion in emergency financing for countries facing balance of payment shocks. Over the next 6 days, the Minister of Finance, Mr. Wale Edun, says he will press for lower cost of capital and fairer global financial conditions for Nigeria as the government navigates its reforms and external shocks. As the spring meetings run through April 18th, the central question for Nigeria and other countries remain how to convert domestic reforms into growth when the global economy comes with another major hit. The 2026 World Bank IMF spring meetings is coming at a time when there are tensions impacting lots of communities globally, and Nigeria is not left out. The federal government says it is taking measures to ensure that millions of Nigerians are not affected by this war. From the World Bank IMF spring meetings in Washington, D.C., Sarah Chimugu, Channels Television News.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Nigeria's oil production rises in March to 1.38 million barrels per day, but remains below its OPEC quota despite improved drilling activity. That's coming up on Business News. Please join us again.
Say if you fail with smart cash, they don't go knock you any charges, not be church at all.
Which kind of yes smart cash? If they no charge you, make them carry me go where I go.
No matter the transaction, smart cash no go charge you shishi. Whether na airtime or na data you buy, or you want pay for your light or na cable bill, na zero charges for smart cash. This one no be cho. Work is day. Make yourself download Smart Cash app. Sharp.
This is the vibe that you need. That all good, I like the way I'm feeling now feeling. That zone where you just stay all right. It's that deep, effortless richness of a full brew taste. That's what you find in every drop of Legend Extra Stout. Legend Extra Stout. It flows.
My baba, they always say, for market, every day gets your own wahala. Sometimes people go on scam you. But Baba say, no be by gra. You must cool down, dey sharp. Because with OPay payment, your money go enter sharp, no story. But inside market, anything fit happen. One day, we no see phone again. My baba remember OPay USSD lock, that's star 955*131#. Baba press and lock account. From market woman to driver, from small boy to big man. Now OPay, they protect people like us. My baba fit sell, press phone, collect POS, and still they teach me price. And when they don't tire, go just tap OPay night guard. We no fear for this our hustle life. Now OPay be the people payment shield.
Hey guys, my name is Kiki and I'm super excited right now because I am in my alma mater UMCC for the Multina Nourishment Tour. Now, in case you want to get us, but why is it not your whole school? It's very easy. If you want the Nourishment Tour to come to your school, all you have to do is visit multina.mbplc.com or visit Multina across all social platforms. Fill the form and nominate your school over time, just like that. Boom, 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 zoom, zoom, zoom. The Nourishment Tour will land in your school.
This is a new understanding. Citizens play their part. Government delivers on its promises. Tax is no longer just about compliance. It's the new partnership for a greater Nigeria. The new Nigeria Revenue Service stands not as a tax collector, but as a trusted custodian of what we built together. It's a new deal for a better Nigeria. A greater Nigeria built by us, funded by us. Message brought to you by Nigeria Revenue Service, NRS.
Pass that back. I bet you can't do that again.
Being your best is a daily commitment. Many dream about it, but only a few walk towards it. Amstel Malta. Be your best.
Welcome back to the news at 10. Now, earlier we did tell you on our lead story that the military has announced that troops of Sector 3 Joint Task Force Northeast Operation Hiding Kai came under an isolated terrorist attack in Monguno of Borno State in the late hours of Sunday, April the 12th. A media information officer of Operation Hiding Kai, Lieutenant Colonel Sani Uba, confirmed the incident, stating that following intense fire exchanges, the terrorists were put to flight with troops maintaining control of the location. He adds that regrettably, the commanding officer, while courageously proceeding to the troops' location to personally assess the situation, encountered an improvised explosive device which severely affected his vehicle, leading to his death alongside 6 other gallant personnel.
It is not an easy road for the armed forces of Nigeria, as the last 86 hours have witnessed an array of attacks by insurgents on the military. Troops of the 29th Task Force Brigade in Operation Hadinkai came under a coordinated terrorist attack at the brigade headquarters in Beni Sheikh, Borno State on Thursday, the 9th of April 2026, as insurgents breached the defensive perimeter of the military installation. While the military succeeded in forcing the insurgents to abandon their mission and suffered fatalities in the process, the troops lost some of their men during the operation. According to a statement from the operational headquarters, 2 officers and 2 soldiers paid the supreme price in course of the engagement. There were several reactions to the incident, condemning the attack and encouraging the military to increase efforts to curb the emerging threats.
This is one of the most surprising attacks that I've witnessed in the recent times. There is a need for us to also review our security architecture, because credible intelligence was received that these madmen were trying to attack this base for about 3 days.
Governor Zulum also assured the troops of support to strengthen the resilience of the military as well as the communities.
I want to assure you that we shall strengthen the resilience of the army, strengthen the resilience of the community, and ensure that Beni Sheikh does not fall into the hands of Boko Haram again. I want you to redouble your effort on meeting the Sector 2 commander in Damaturu, but at your own level also, you have to review the situation, examine what has happened, do a SWOT analysis, and then report to us to see how the army and the government of Borno State will partner together to reinforce this place.
President Bola Tinubu also issued a statement on the attack, expressing deep sadness over the loss of the brave soldiers. He urges the leadership of the armed forces and soldiers on the front lines to draw strength from the nation's deep appreciation for their sacrifices. The military intensified efforts to bring those behind the attack to book, and that led to the arrest of a 15-year-old Boko Haram suspect in Ngamdu Kaga local government area of Borno State. The suspect was arrested by troops of the Joint Task Force, Operation Hadinkai, for his alleged involvement in the attack on troops in Beni Sheikh.
We came from Jili village to attack Beni Sheikh and Gamdu. When we returned, we were asked by our commander Bulama to go to Maiduguri with the sum of 850,000 naira.
According to him, the next target is the Ngamdu military base, where he claims he has a mandate to capture commanding officer alive. Following intelligence, the air component of the Joint Task Force Operation Hadinkai launched an airstrike on Jili general area of Gubia local government in Borno State on April 11, 2026. Jili is a border community between Borno and Yobe states. Some of those injured in the strike are receiving treatment at the Maiduguri Specialist Hospital. According to the Joint Task Force, the area is a known terrorist enclave and logistics hub. The statement adds that sustained intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance missions revealed that the axis is long identified as a major terrorist movement corridor and convergence point for Islamic State West Africa province terrorists and their collaborators. The state governments of Yobe and Borno confirmed the military intelligence, stating that civilians were not targeted in the strike. The Borno state government adds that the market was closed 5 years ago and has become a stronghold of Boko Haram insurgents. The state governments warned residents not to provide aid, harbor or provide logistics support to Boko Haram insurgents. In a related development, the troops repelled a terrorist attack in Mongono, Borno State, which led to the loss of a commanding officer and 6 soldiers. The attack, which the task force describes as an isolated incident, occurred late on Sunday, April 12, 2026. The statement from the task force adds that the troops successfully forced the attackers to retreat and retain control of the location.
Business News is up next with Will Ibom.
Thank you, Ayotunde. Nigeria's crude oil production rose to 1.38 million barrels per day in March, up from 1.31 million barrels per day in February, and that's according to the latest OPEC monthly oil market report. Despite the increase, output remained below Nigeria's OPEC quota of 1.5 million barrels per day, leaving a shortfall of about 120,000 barrels per day. Nigeria, however, maintained its position as Africa's top oil producer ahead of Libya. Meanwhile, oil drilling activity improved slightly, with rig count rising from 15 to 17, signaling a gradual recovery in upstream operations. An economic summit group, NESG, has warned that rising reliance on external borrowing could pose risks to economic stability, and the warning follows Nigeria's recent $2.35 billion Eurobond issuance, highlighted in its latest economic outlook report. The think tank says excessive borrowing could undermine recent gains in Nigeria's credit ratings and weaken investor sentiment, urging the government to exercise caution in accumulating foreign debt. Nigeria's virtual meeting space continues to expand, with growing demand for digital communication tools across businesses and institutions. And speaking on Business Morning, the CEO of Connect Technologies, Femi Williams, says despite the rise in usage, local platforms are struggling to gain strong adoption, raising concerns about their competitiveness in a market dominated by global players.
The challenge we have is that the Nigerians are not consuming Nigerian products. And Nigerian has shifted from being digital observer to digital native. We have over 1 million lines, phone lines in Nigeria today. We've been able to conduct election, over 100 and something thousand polling units. We're able to verify, people's identity remotely on a single day. All right, JAMB, WAEC, all these things have shown that the capacities are there. Yes, for development, Nigerians, we have agencies of government that are, that have been encouraged or be set up, right, to do those developmental acts. But what is missing now is patronage. And all the organizations, all the countries are developed. It is this internal, patronage that encourages quality and standard that we're expecting to grow.
The Securities and Exchange Commission has directed capital market operators to freeze assets linked to 10 individuals and 3 entities over alleged terrorism financing. The move follows their inclusion on Nigeria's sanctions list, with all financial institutions required to identify and freeze affected accounts and report suspicious transactions. The SEC warns that failure to comply could attract penalties as authorities intensify efforts to curb terrorism financing. And now to the domestic equities market, which opened the new trading week with positive sentiments. Here's Laddie Williams with highlights of today's trading.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. Well, finally, we have a 5-day trading week in April for the first time, and the local bourse continues in the green. I guess we have one more day to make money for investors this week. 204,000 for the all-share index market cap, still sitting 131 trillion. Then for the gainers, we see NGX Group, that tops the gainers chart today. I guess it's a no-brainer, at this point. The NGX all-share index continues to rally. NGX Group stock also rallying, about 150% up so far this year. But it's 10% today to gain. And we also see the likes of Make the Calls. They're adding 9.74%. Let's look at the laggards now. We see the Burger, that's in basic materials. That lost about 9.95%, closing at 68 naira 35. We see Academy Press down 9.71%, and Caviton 5.98%. So that's how the markets did perform today, and no big changes for oil and gas stocks today, even though oil continues its monster rally.
Thank you, Ladi. Let's see the snapshot performance of other major global equities now. And that's business news. I'm Will Ibong. This back to you, Ayotunde.
Welcome back. U.S. President Donald Trump says the United States is set to embark on a blockade of the Strait of Hormuz after Iran talks failed. Speaking at the White House, the U.S. President says Iran wants a deal very badly, and he was called this morning by the appropriate people seeking an agreement. Here's some Puzy with Around the World in 5 from our London studio.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. A US blockade of Iranian ports has begun, with US Central Command saying it will not impede ships sailing through the Strait of Hormuz to or from countries other than Iran. Iran's parliamentary speaker said the country will not surrender under threat, and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps says military vessels approaching the strait will be dealt with severely. Meanwhile, Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif says efforts are ongoing to resolve the conflict between the US and Iran. It comes after the negotiations between the two nations held in Pakistan's capital Islamabad over the weekend failed to amount to a deal. Viktor Orban's 16 years in power are over, and the system condemned as an electoral autocracy lies in tatters, defeated by a 45-year-old former party insider who convinced a majority of Hungarians to bring it to an end. We did it, Peter Magyar told a crowd of cheering supporters in a square beside the River Danube, overlooking Budapest's magnificent parliament on the other side. Results, based on more than 98% of votes counted, put his Tisza party on course for an extraordinary 138 seats, with Viktor Orban's Fidesz on 55 and the far right on 6.
Amazing! We can't describe it. We cannot describe it. We are so happy that Orban is finally gone.
We are glad to feel some sense of hope finally.
Yes! Yes!
After
We changed the system.
Finally, I can say that I can be a proud Hungarian. Finally, after 16 years.
US Congressman Eric Swalwell has dropped out of California's governor race following growing pressure over sexual misconduct allegations. The Democrat has been accused by 4 women of misconduct ranging from sexual harassment to rape. He has denied the claims and vowed to defend himself with the facts. Still, top allies intensified pressure on him to exit the gubernatorial race, in which he was projected as one of the front-runners among Democratic candidates. His departure comes at a pivotal moment in the wide-open primary race, just weeks before voters receive mail ballots ahead of the 2nd of June election to replace the outgoing Governor Gavin Newsom and to lead the nation's most populous state. At least 30 people are feared to have been killed in a stampede at a popular tourist site in Haiti. The incident took place during an annual Easter gathering at La Ferrière Citadel, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The site had been packed with students and visitors after the event commemorating the 19th century fortress's founding. It's feared the death toll could rise. Ghanaian footballer Dominic Frimpong has died after suspected armed robbers opened fire at the bus carrying his team Bereckham Chelsea back from a match. Police say Frimpong sustained gunshot wounds and died while receiving treatment. A manhunt for the suspect is underway. The Ghana Football Association expressed its profound shock and deep sorrow, describing the 20-year-old as a promising young talent whose dedication and passion for the game embodied the spirit of our league. According to Ghanaian authorities, the bus had been carrying 30 players and officials when it came under attack by 6 armed men. Pope Leo XIV wants to turn the world's attention to Africa, according to a senior Vatican official, as he embarks on a significant tour of the continent addressing themes of peace, migration and dialogue between religions. The 11-day trip, which starts today, is Pope Leo's second major foreign visit since being elected to the papacy in May last year. More than a fifth of the world's Catholics are in Africa, some 288 million people according to figures from 2024. The Vatican says its latest survey shows a remarkable increase in the number of baptized Catholics on the continent. The wide-ranging tour will include stop-offs in 11 cities in 4 countries, including Algeria, Cameroon, Angola and Equatorial Guinea. In all, the Pope will travel nearly 18,000 kilometres, clocking up most of the distance on 18 flights. And Asha Bhosle, a legendary Bollywood singer who became a cultural icon, has died at the age of 92. The unrivaled queen of Indian playback singing died in Mumbai, having been admitted to hospital after suffering a heart attack. Her death marks the end of an era in Bollywood music, with her career spanning more than 8 decades and encompassing more than 12,000 songs. Stars, including cricket legend Sachin Tendulkar, attended her funeral earlier today.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Thank you so much, Simon. Sports news is up next with Chris Illems. Chris?
Thank you, Ayo. We'll start from Ghana, where the Football Association has appointed Carlos Queiroz as the new head coach of the Black Stars ahead of the 2025 FIFA World Cup. The appointment ends weeks of speculation over who would take charge following the departure of Otto Addo. Queiroz arrives with a vast experience at the highest level of international football. The 73-year-old man has managed Real Madrid and Manchester United, as well as Portugal, Egypt, South Africa, Iran, Japan and Qatar. He's expected to begin work immediately as he looks to assess the squad, finalize his technical team and prepare the Black Stars for the global showpiece. Liverpool boss Arne Slot admits his players would need a very special performance to overturn their 2-goal deficit against PSG in the Champions League quarter-finals second leg on Tuesday. Liverpool are on the brink of being eliminated by PSG for a second successive season after a disappointing display in Paris last week. Liverpool failed to muster a single shot on target at the Parc des Princes, and Slot acknowledged that they will have to improve significantly to stun the title holders at Anfield. And Barcelona coach Hansi Flick has said that he is not concerned about his side's defensive strength ahead of their Champions League quarter-final return leg against Atletico Madrid, pointing to their ability to score more goals. Barcelona must overturn a 2-goal deficit at the Metropolitano Stadium in order to make it to the semi-finals. Flick was keen to ensure his side focused on their performance without paying too much attention to the scores. Back to you, Ayo.
And the main news again. An improvised explosive device planted by insurgents has detonated in Mongono, Borno State, killing the commanding officer of 242 Battalion, Colonel I.A. Mohammed, and 6 other soldiers. And former Senate leader Alim Dume has urged President Bola Tinubu to intensify efforts to secure the release of over 400 Ngosha residents abducted by Boko Haram insurgents last month. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ayo Tunde Balogun. From everyone here, you have a good night.